What's up, everyone? And today I'm bringing you a deck profile on my S-Force deck now. S-Force actually got some new support in Cyberstorm Axis, which honestly completely flew under the radar. I didn't even notice it until recently, and it's actually a pretty solid card. So without further ado, let's get right into it. Now, S-Force is a deck that zones matter, and they prevent your opponents from doing stuff depending on the cards you have and the zones. First, 3 Rappa Chiyomaru. Your opponent's monster is in the same column as one of your S-Force monsters. You can only target this monster for attacks. And as a quick effect, to banish one S-Force card from your hand, return this card to the hand, and if you do, special summon an S-Force monster from your deck. Also run 2 of the Edge Razor. Edge Razor, each time your opponent monster in the same column as one of your S-Force monsters cannot be used as material for the link summon of a link 3 or higher monster. So this can prevent your opponent from going into access code if you have a S-Force in each of the link zones, or the column of the link zones. Additionally, when it's normal with special summon, you can special summon an S-Force monster from your hand. Also run the 3 Gravitino. Whenever's normal with special summon, you can add one S-Force card from your deck to your hand. And when your opponent's monster is in the same column as one of your S-Force monsters, banished when it leaves the field. So basically, a monster your opponent controls in the same zone as one of your S-Force monsters gets banished when it leaves the field if Gravitino is up. Also run 2 of the Platina. Platina, when it is a normal special summon, you can target one of your banished S-Force monsters, special summon it. And like the rest of them, each of your opponent's monsters in the same column as one of your S-Force monsters loses 600 attack. Now this is obviously the weakest of all the S-Force, but the effect on summon is still pretty good because you do a lot of banishing in this deck. Also running 1 Dog Tag. Now as far as the effect with the zones, Dog Tag is the best in my opinion. Because, or not really the best, but it is it can be pretty good situationally. During your main phase, your opponent cannot activate the effects of monsters in the same column as one of your S-Force monsters. Unfortunately, it's in during your main phase. But if your opponent normal special summons a monster while you control an S-Force monster, you can special summon this card from your hand. Also run the 1 Laplace. If this card is special summon, you can target an S-Force monster from your graveyard, special summon it. You can banish one S-Force card from your hand to store all of your opponent's monsters in the same column as your S-Force monsters. So it's kind of like a Raigeki in a way. Also run a 3D Shifter. It does kind of conflict with the Laplace, but it's more likely to hurt your opponent more than hurt you, depending on what you're going against. Like some of the best decks don't really care too much about this, like Castura. Also run 3 Ash for more hand traps. Moving on to the spells, I run 3 of the field spell, S-Force Bridgehead, which when it's activated, you can add an S-Force monster. Also run the 1 Terraforming. Also run 3 copies of S-Force Showdown. Showdown special summons an S-Force from your hand, or you can target an S-Force monster from your graveyard add to your hand. You're usually going to use the effect of special summon from the hand. Also run the 1 Rhoda, because one of them is a warrior. Also run 3 Prod Prosperity. Your X deck doesn't really matter, more or less because you want the S-Force monsters on the field because they're going to be the ones preventing your opponents from doing stuff. Going into extra deck monsters outside of maybe the S-Force cards isn't really going to get you a whole lot of extra, so a lot of it's just fodder for prosperity. Also run the 3-dimensional Vizier, some extra backup for the Shifter, and the 1 Called by the Grave because you don't want to get hand trapped. Moving on to the traps, I run 3 S-Force Chase. Chase, you can target a face-up card your opponent controls up to the number of S-Force monsters you control with different names, return them to the hand. And if an S-Force monster will be banished by from your hand to activate its effect, you can banish this card from graveyard instead. So this card is really good, and it's going to be really disruptive during your opponent. So if you can get like 5 S-Force monsters on the field, which unfortunately really isn't the most likely thing, but if you're able to do that, then you can just bounce 5 monsters your opponent control, or 5 cards your opponent controls, which is really good. Also run 3 Imperm, another very solid hand trap. As far as the extra deck, I run 3 copies of the S-Force Justify. Now, I still don't really know if Justify's effect applies for both players, but basically you cannot special summon to a zone this card points to. I don't know if that means I just can't summon monsters from my hand to their field, or if that restricts my opponent to. If it restricts my opponent to, then yeah, this card's really good. It's also got a quick effect, you target face-up effect monster opponent controls. You get its effect until the end of the turn, then you can move that opponent also to another zone. Also run 3 copies of the New S-Force Night Chaser. Now, Night Chaser is a Link 1, and during the main phase quick effect, you can target one S-Force monster you control, shuffle into the deck, then you can special summon one of your banished S-Force monsters. So you can even use itself. So you can link it away, or links it into this, use this effect, shuffle it back, and special banish S-Force monster, which could be pretty crucial because you are going to be banishing them often. The rest of the extra deck is kind of like filler in a way, like around 2 Dark, Blocker, Sling, because Platina is a spellcaster. Of course, an IP, Masquerade, Unicorn, Access Code, and Apollosa. Outside of the S-Force extra deck monsters, well, the rest of it doesn't really matter too much. So that's it for my S-Force deck profile. What do you think of S-Force? Think it's a deck with some potential? Let me know in the comments and I'll see you next time. Bye.